talk to me, I don't want to talk to you. If you need something from me, come talk to me. If I need something from you, I'll come talk to you. Otherwise, I don't want to see your face. Now, I never said that to anybody, but that's exactly what my behaviors was communicating to people. And my thought was that if I do my job very well as an engineer, my career will progress, I will get promoted, I will get to where I want to go. But after a short while, I discovered that that's not true. No matter how good you are, if you are not good with people, working with teams, knowing how to lead teams, your career will not go anywhere. So for me, the gap became big for me when I became a project manager. And as a project manager, my attitude about the way I engage people did not change. Because as an engineer, I didn't talk to people if I didn't have to talk to them. My interactions with people was purely transactional. That means if I need to talk to them, that's when I go talk to them. If I don't have to talk to them, I don't talk to them. Not that I was afraid of talking to people, I just didn't see the reason why I need to go talk to them, right? If you don't need them, why did you talk to them? So that was my attitude. And then I quickly realized as a project manager, that would not go very well. That would not fly well as a project manager. So the gap began to show. It began to show in everything I do. My projects were not doing well. And as a project manager was a no-no for me. That was something I could not stand. That my projects were not doing well. I couldn't figure out what was going on. The engineers on my team that was leading, they were good engineers. I knew them. They were my former colleagues. I knew them. I knew they were good. But for whatever reason, we were not doing well. So I began to look for what was the problem, what was going on. What do I need to do? As I began to look, I found out that the problem was not a technical problem. It was a leadership problem. I was the problem. I was the problem. It was the way I was leading the team because I did not know how to manage teams, how to lead people, how to influence people, how to motivate people. And that was the problem. That was why my projects were failing. So that was when I began to look for what I needed to do. What do I need to do? What areas do I need to grow as a leader to better lead my teams? That was what forced me into beginning to look into leadership skills. Unfortunately, most of our curriculum in colleges and universities, I'm not sure about today, by the time I went to college, none of that had anything to do with leadership, leading teams. Because we are focused on the technical aspects, we are not focused on leadership side. And I saw that challenge not just with me, with my teams, my colleagues, people I work with, up to the very highest level, at the vice president of engineering level, where we had challenges. Even people that have been promoted to highest levels of leadership, they have the same challenges with leading teams and motivating people. So when I began to grow in this area, I began to apply the things I've learned. I began to see changes in my team. I began to see changes. To be honest with you, it was shocking for me at the beginning. I didn't expect a change. Because remember, I'm an engineer. If you cannot prove anything to me logically, I don't believe it. That's just me. I will not believe it. So all this thing about human emotions and things like that, I never believed in it. All the psychology stuff. When I was in college, we look at people in the social sciences studying psychology and say, what the heck are they teaching those people over there? Let them come and learn real stuff, engineering, math, science, and things that solves problems, not all this yucky, emotional stuff. But when I couldn't lead my teams, eventually that's what I fell back on. I realized how important those skills are. So I began to develop and learn some of these leadership skills. I had to get out of my own shell, out of my comfort zone, to begin to learn those skills. In the process, I stumbled onto something called emotional intelligence. I didn't plan on it. I just stumbled into it. I found out that emotional intelligence brings together in a holistic way all the leadership skills that people are teaching us. It brings them together in a way that shows how interconnected they are and how they affect each other. So that was when my fascination with emotional intelligence started. So I found an assessment, I took an assessment, I got my report, I didn't do very well in many of them. I began to work on it. And the more I worked on it, the more I practiced what I learned, leading my teams, my project teams as an engineer and a project manager, I began to see changes, positive changes within my team.
Absolutely.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us. I began to see positive changes within my team. It was exceptional as I did that. So as people were calling on me to share the success story behind leading project teams, I became the go-to person in my company at the time. At that time I was working for Siemens, the big German company, and then I would be called upon to come and rescue failing projects that are not doing well. So I became the specialist in the company that would call and say, if a project is failing, then give it to Sunny. And I began to apply the skills, and I found out most failing projects have to do with interpersonal skills, with emotional intelligence skills. It's just how we engage people, how we motivate people. So in a nutshell, that's been my journey. So today, it has translated to what I do full time. So after about 26 years, I left engineering and managing projects behind, and all I do is speak and teach about emotional intelligence. And I'm very passionate about this topic because I know what it's done for me. I understand what it's done for me. The me most people see today was not me of 30 years ago. Those who knew me 30 years ago, they'll be surprised at what they see today. Because 30 years ago, I would not even think of doing what I do today. Today, I travel around the world, I speak and coach on emotional intelligence and leadership. That was not me 30 years ago. 30 years ago, when I first got out of college, the last thing I want to do is stand in front of people and speak. I would rather die and be buried than stand in front of people. I was that afraid of standing in front of people and speaking in front of people. But today, I travel around the world. I've spoken in front of thousands of people. I'm still alive, I'm not dead yet. So I know, knowing who I was 30 years ago and knowing what I'm doing today, I know that if I can learn those skills, anybody can. It doesn't matter who you are, because I know who I was. And in my journey, especially when I began to lead teams of engineers on projects, I realized how important emotional intelligence is to project managers, especially. But to everyone, not just project managers. It's important to everyone, every one of us. And as we go through this brief lecture today, you will see some of the reasons why it's not only possible or helpful for us in our professions, in our careers, it's very important also in our personal skills. When I do the 2-day seminar I do for the PMI, Project Management Institute, I always share the story. We don't have the time here today to share that story with you. I always share my own personal story about how it has changed even my relationship with members of my own family because of my growth in this area. So this translates to both professional and personal areas. So I'm certain that all of us, everybody we can grow from this. So in a nutshell, that's been my journey. But let's define what it is. What exactly is emotional intelligence? It's our ability, first of all, to understand our own emotions. We understand our own emotions, where they are coming from, why we are having them. It's also our ability to understand other people's emotions. So we begin to pay closer attention to emotions. And when we talk about emotions doesn't have to be something that you easily see. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't mean somebody yelling and shouting and punching and doing something. When somebody is too emotional, that's what many of us think. We say somebody is emotional because we see visible representations of emotions from people. But it doesn't have to be that. Emotions can be much more subtle than that. So it's our ability to understand my own emotions of other people. It also includes the ability to use that understanding of emotions to manage my own emotions and also manage my relationships with other people. So 4 major parts of emotional intelligence: understanding my emotions, understanding other people's emotions, then managing my emotions, and then managing my relationships with people. Those are the 4 major parts. of emotional intelligence. Very key. All right. Let me quickly talk about why project managers need emotional intelligence. And I prepared this ahead for project managers. I just realized that says PMS. That's not supposed to be right. It's PMs. So it's not PMS. Why PMs need the emotional intelligence? By the way, EQ stands for emotional quotient. Emotional quotient is a measure. It's how you measure emotional intelligence. All right? EQ is a measure of EI. But over the last maybe 5 to 10 years, most people just use EQ to mean emotional intelligence. So that's why I'm using it here. So why do we need it? First of all, especially project managers, they have limited positional authority. Limited positional authority. What does that mean? Most project managers don't lead teams of people that report to them. So most people that work on projects, they have a functional manager. So that means they have a separate boss. Somebody else that is their manager. So most project managers lead teams of people that are borrowed. They borrow people from other teams. And because you don't have that positional authority over your team members, you have to learn to be able to influence them. You have to. If you don't, you're not going to get much out of them. So that's the reason why. And here's the thing. Most people that you borrow from other teams, other functional teams to work on your project, their primary allegiance is to their teams. Their primary devotion is to their teams, is to their manager. So because of that, you need to get them on your side. You need to find ways to influence them. Emotional intelligence can help to do that. Also, as a project manager or as a leader of your team, you need ways to influence the manager of the people on your team. Their managers, because you don't want their managers behaving in ways that will make your team members not perform very well. So you need that. You need that ability to influence your team members and their managers. The other reason that you see here is that projects are temporary. Most projects are temporary. Projects can last from a few weeks to several years. But majority of projects go from between 6 to 24 months. Majority of projects fall in that range. Because of that, because projects are temporary, you have a limited duration, you don't have a lot of time to be able to get your teams together. How many of you have seen the Tucker's, where is it? Tuckman stage of team development? When a new team comes together, they go through these 5 stages that Tuckman mentioned. Forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. When teams come together, they go through these 5 stages. Until your teams get into the norming and performing stages, they are not doing squat. They are not doing anything. Most teams get destroyed in, I keep moving this in too much. There we go. Most teams get destroyed around here. Storming. This is storming. This is where conflict and power struggles happen. They get stuck there. They are fighting within each other. So as a project manager, you don't have a lot of time. You don't have a lot of time. You want to be able to speed through this phase very quickly. In fact, you want to be able to quickly move your teams from here up to norming and performing, which is where they deliver to you. Okay, it's because I'm touching it, right?
Yes, yes, it is.
I just realized that. Okay. So you want to quickly move them to this area to deliver for your teams, move out of here. So because of that, you don't have a lot of time for these processes to happen. Because projects are temporary, you don't have a lot of time, you need to move them quickly to areas where they can perform. Because of that also you need emotional intelligence to help you do that. Next, each project is unique. So as you move from project to project, what happens? There's this content change of the people you have to deal with. Your team members may be different from project to project. Your contractors may be different. Your vendors may be different. Even your stakeholders, your project sponsor, they may be different. So as you move from one project to another one, you have to quickly, with a new team, quickly reassess know what you want to do very quickly, and begin that building of relationships with your teams. You need to do that quickly. That's why you need emotional intelligence. Finally, as the leader of your team, you are the role model for them. You are the role model. What you do is what the team will do. If you behave in a way that causes the team dysfunction, that's what you get. You get a dysfunctional team. So because you are the role model, you need to behave in ways that you want your team to emulate. You want to behave in ways that you want to make sure that they do what you want them to do. People do what people see. That's the law of the picture. It's called the law of the picture. People do what people see. Many of us expect that some people will do what we tell them to do. If you're a parent, you know that's not right. That's not true, right? You tell your children to do something, they never do what you tell them to do. They do what they see you do. People do what people see. So if you are the leader of your team, you serve as a role model. You have to behave in ways you want your teams to emulate. If you don't, then you have a problem. All right. The truth is that growing emotional intelligence doesn't just happen. It just does not happen. Yes, research has shown that as we grow older, as we get older, get more mature, there is some level, some very, very minute levels of emotional intelligence growth that happens in people. Because we become wiser, we learn from our experience. But it just does not happen unless you are intentional about it. So, first of all, okay, I'm not doing this right. Maybe I just touch it. That's better. It takes intentional effort. It takes intentional effort. You have to be intentional about it. You have to plan. You have to realize the importance of emotional intelligence. You have to plan to develop it. See, for me, I told you about my story at the beginning. For me as an engineer, remember I tell you I sit in the corner, don't talk to anybody, don't talk to me, I don't want to talk to you. If you leave me to myself, I won't talk to anybody. I will not talk to anybody. I will sit in my corner and do my own thing. When I realized I needed to grow in these skills, I began to make effort. I took an assessment. I found a coach. I attended seminars and workshops. I did things that would help me. And the key is many of us attend conferences, sessions, seminars, and things like that. We acquire information, knowledge about these skills, but we don't do anything with them. And that's my challenge to you. But that's my challenge to a lot of places. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was in Dublin at the EMEA Congress for the Project Management Institute. And that was my big challenge to them as I was speaking there. That many of us know a lot of things. We attend conferences, we have seminars, we have this knowledge, but we don't do anything with them. They just gather dust. And they are sitting there. So I hope you don't do that. I hope you learn and actually practice what you learn, because that's where growth comes in from. So first of all, you need to be intentional about it. Secondly, you need to plan it. You need to plan and schedule it. Plan for it. Like I said, because it's not my natural tendency to engage people, to do some of the things that growing in emotional intelligence says I should do, it's not my natural tendency to do that. If I don't plan for it, and I don't schedule it, put it on my calendar, I won't do it. I won't do it. So at the beginning, you know what I did? I put things on my calendar. Microsoft Outlook became my new best friend at the time. I would put things like, get up, go talk to Alexander. Or get up, go talk to Svetlana or something. Because if you leave it to myself, I'm not going to go get up and talk to people. I'm going to sit at my desk all day, do my own thing. So please plan for it. Plan for it, schedule it, because it will not just happen. You need to pay attention to it. This is the model of emotional intelligence I use with my clients today, that I use in my seminars and my workshops. It's called the EQI 2.0 model of emotional intelligence. This is the same model I took years ago. This is the one I took an assessment, you got the report. And by the way, the copies of the report is what you have, a sample copy of the report. This is why I like it. It's a very powerful report that gives you detailed information. There are 5 composites. We call them composites, these 5. And you see them here. Self-perception. Is there a pointer on this thing? Is there a laser pointer?
No, I don't think
No?
so. No.
Okay, don't worry about it. Self-perception, self-expression, interpersonal, decision-making, and stress management. Those are the 5 composites listed here. They are all related. One's related to the other one. It starts with self-perception, how you see yourself. For many of us, how we see ourselves always determines how we express ourselves to other people. So self-perception flows into self-expression, how you express yourself. Also, how you express yourself to other people usually determines the kind of relationships you develop with them. That's the interpersonal side. So self-expression flows into interpersonal. Now the relationships, the kind of relationship we develop with people always determine how you make decisions. Whether you tend to include other people when you make decisions, or you tend to make decisions on your own. So you see how that flows into decision making. And finally, the quality of your decisions always determines the level of your stress and how you manage the stress. So that flows to the decision making composite. So those are the 5 major composites. But these are the 5 composites. Each one is broken down into 3 subscales. 3. If you look under here, you'll see the 3. Actually, I think on page 2 in the report that you have, you'll see this wheel there. So you see that each one of these 5 is broken into 3 composites. So we have 15 of them. Take a look at them. We have 15 composites. Each one of these is a behavioral skill. Each one is a behavioral skill that you can learn, that you can grow in. When you take this assessment, you get a score in each of the 15. You see that on page 3 in the sample report that you have. You get a score. You see the bar charts with a score on each one of them. You also get a score for each of the 5 composites. That's not as much important. What's really important is your score in each of the 15. Because each one is a behavioral skill. Now, in general, we want emotional intelligence scores to be high. But here's the thing. Please don't look at those numbers as pass or fail. All right? High scores means you are using the behaviors more. Lower scores means you are not using the behaviors as much. All right? So it's not a pass or fail kind of a thing. It's just more use of the behaviors or less use of the behaviors. We want the scores to be high because we want you to exhibit more use of that behaviors. But here's the thing. We want the scores to be high, but oh, by the way, this is a copy of the report. You get a 21-page report. This is what you have in your hand. Even though we want the scores to be high, balance is much more important than the scores being high. Balance is much more important. Because a low score is not necessarily a bad thing. Also, a high score is not necessarily a good thing when it comes to emotional intelligence. It's not. Each one of the subscales, those 15 subscales, each one of them is related to 3 other ones. So if you take any one of those 15, each one has a relationship with 3 others. Your score in that one compared to your score in those other 3 that's related to it needs to be close enough. That's the balance we're looking for. If they are too wide apart, if the score between them is more than 10, we say it's out of balance. So balance is very important. Here is an example. If you look on maybe page 4, I think, starting on page 4, from pages 4 to 18 or 19, look at the bottom of the page, you'll see this section called Balancing Your EI. It compares that subscale with the 3 others that are related to it. If it's out of balance, it will tell you. In the example I have here, it says assertiveness is greater than emotional self-awareness. So it's out of balance. They give you tips on what you can do. If they are in balance, you will see something like this. It will say they are all balanced. So the key is having them balanced. That's the most important thing. That's what we're looking for. So yes, we want scores to be high, but you're actually much better off if you have two lower scores that are in balance than having two that are also supposed to be in balance but out of balance. One is high, one is low. So most of what I do today with clients I coach is to help them get some of this imbalance. Because when they are balanced, or when they are out of balance, when they are not balanced, the way it shows up in our behavior is much more detrimental to us. I'll give you a quick example. About 4 or 5 years ago, one of my clients took this assessment, like I said. We take this assessment before we start the coaching process. And as I was explaining to her what is balance, she took one look at her report. The report looked just like the one you have. If you take it, you have that exact same looking report, but with your own scores and your name on it. So she took a look at her report and said, oh my God, I'm full of myself and I don't know it. That's what she said. Now, some of you are smiling. I was laughing when she said that. So what do you mean by that? She said, I'm full of myself, I don't know it. Then she pointed out, she said, look, I score very high in self-regard. Self-regard is a component of self-perception, how you see yourself, how you respect, accept yourself for who you are. She scored very high. And then she said, well, look at this one. I scored low in reality testing. Reality testing is how you see reality, how you see things. Do you see things the way they are? Or do you see them whether with rose-colored glasses or with muddy lenses? The truth is many of us don't see things as they are. We see things as we are, with our own subjective lenses, with our unconscious bias. So she looked at it and said, high self-regard, low reality testing, I'm full of myself and I don't know it, I don't realize it. So I just laughed. I said, well, it's a good thing you realize that, because then we can now start working on reality testing, bringing high up so that it becomes more in balance with self-regard. And she's right. Reality testing and self-regard are related to each other. So they need to be in balance. Let me give you a couple more examples. One of those 15 is emotional expression. Emotional expression is how we openly express our feelings, whether verbally or non-verbally. Emotional expression is one of the key emotional behaviors that most people see, and they will say somebody is emotional. How you express emotions. And now some of you may sit here, and most of us, once again with science-based backgrounds, we are guilty of this. You may sit here and you say, I'm not that emotional, right? I'm not an emotional person. I'm even killed. You know, nothing phases me. If anything bothers me, I don't show it. And you may think that's a good thing. It's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. Because I'm like that. I rarely show any kind of emotions or anything. We say, we take it as a badge of honor because we don't show negative emotions, right? But because we don't show negative emotions, what does that mean? It also means you do not show positive emotions. So there are positive emotions that we don't show. When you are excited, do people know? I'm guilty of that. To be honest with you, when I first took this assessment years ago, this is one I got the lowest. I'm just telling you, for me. So it was not, it was not a mystery that this is when I scored the lowest, because I don't express emotions. Yes, I don't express negative emotions. At the same time, I don't express positive emotions enough. And that's not a good thing. People need to know, they need to know where you stand. So this is emotional expression. Here's another one. Empathy. Empathy is also a very key emotional intelligence skill. Empathy is our ability and our willingness to be sensitive to the feelings of other people, to other people's needs. Being sensitive to the feelings and the needs of others. Also, it includes our ability to express that understanding. So we are sensitive to the feelings and needs of others, but we also express it to them. I show you emotional expression and empathy because they are related. I told you each one of them has a relationship with three others, right? They are related. When you balance the two of them, that means they need to be in balance. When emotional expression and empathy are in balance, you know what happens? It helps you to be able to carefully listen to the ideas of other people. You are better at listening to other people. Because with empathy, listening is a key component of empathy. You are cluing in into their feelings, to their needs, the needs of other people, so you listen to them. So if you are a leader of your team, when you listen to other people, when you listen to the ideas, it ensures buy-in on your decisions. Buy-in. So your team do not feel that you are the one telling them what to do. They feel that they are contributing to the process. They are contributing to the decisions. They feel that you are hearing them. When people feel like that, they are more invested in getting that thing done. So they are not saying it as, this is what the boss said we should do. They are saying it as, I have an input. I contributed to how we made this decision, so I'm more invested in making it happen. And they are the one that will execute the decision, so you want their buy-in. So this is helpful. Also, when you balance emotional expression and empathy, it helps you to express your feelings to your team members. You can express your feelings to them, especially positive feelings. It tells them that you care about them, that it shows that you care about them. And when you show your team member that you care about them, they will do anything for you. They will put in their very best for you. If they know that, if you know your manager cares about you, just think about yourself, for example. If you know that your manager, the person that you report to at work, cares so much about you, how would that affect the way you approach your job? You put in a lot more effort. What your manager is not asking you to do, you will do it. You go above and beyond because you know that person cares about you. So that's what happens when we balance emotional expression and empathy. So you see how balancing this, how it helps? Let me give you one more example. This is assertiveness, one of the 15. With assertiveness, you are able to communicate your feelings and your thoughts openly. Look at the second bullet. You defend your personal rights, your values, but you do that in a way that is non-offensive, that is socially acceptable, in ways that is non-destructive. This is opposed to being aggressive. You know, people are passive, some are aggressive, some are passive-aggressive. This is none of that. This is assertiveness. With assertiveness, you communicate what you feel, but you do it in such a way that you are not offending people in the process. In a way that is socially acceptable, non-offensive, non-destructive. This is assertiveness, one of the 15. Here's another one. Interpersonal relationships, another one of the 15. With interpersonal relationships, you develop the ability and the tendency to give and receive trust with people. With interpersonal relationships. When you score higher, when you grow in this area, you're able to establish and maintain mutually satisfying personal relationships with people. Also, I show you assertiveness and the personal relationships because they are related. Those two are also related. When you balance that, when you balance these two, this is what you get. You don't shy away from difficult conversations with your team members. There are sometimes you have to have some serious, difficult conversation with team members. You don't shy away from it. With assertiveness, remember you're able to openly communicate your feelings in a way that is non-offensive, socially acceptable. With interpersonal relationship, you are building trust and accept trust from people. So you combine those two, you will not shy away from difficult conversations. You will be able to speak. When you have to have difficult conversations with people, you can speak to it in a way that they will listen to you, in a way that you will not be offending them. They will realize the reason for that difficult conversations. Also, you'll be able to tackle issues, any difficult issues that comes up without destroying relationships. Another one that is not here, that I didn't put here, is that you will not allow your personal relationship with people to prevent you from doing what is right or what is needed. Because there are some managers who, because they have good relations with their team members, what happens? Those team members, they can do whatever they want, and the manager will not call them out, right? They will do whatever they want. They come late to work, or spend a few hours at work, play around, do whatever they want, not doing the job. But because they have a good relationship with the manager just let them slide by. With these two, you don't do that. You do not do that. With the personal relationship that is balanced with assertiveness, you ensure that you hold your people accountable, even when you have good relationships with them. So I showed you these couple of examples to let you know how balancing key components of emotional intelligence, how they are very, very important, and how powerful they are. So let me quickly wrap up with this. What can you do? What can you do? What should you do? Very simple. Some of the things we've been talking about. Recognize it. Recognize, and that's what I've been talking about over the last almost, 40 or 50 minutes. Recognize the importance of emotional intelligence. It's powerful, it's very important. Recognize how important it is and begin to do something about it. Once you recognize its importance, take an assessment. I recommend this assessment to you. It's one of the powerful ones I know. About several years ago, when I was looking to take an assessment, I found about 6 or 7 of them on the market at the time. And true to my form as an engineer, I did a thorough analysis. This is my own analysis, not validated by anybody. But this is my personal analysis. I look at all of them, and I settled with this one I just gave you, the EQI 2.0 model. That's the assessment I took. That's the one that helped me. I got the same report. And that's one I'm using with my clients and in my seminars and everything I do today. So I highly recommend that. Take an assessment. Like I said, you'll get a report. That sample report, 21-page assessment report. Once you do that, work with a coach. Find a coach, someone that can help you fairly the first 6 months to 1 year to help you. That's what I had to do. Because a coach was supposed to be accountable.
Psychologist or somebody like this?
Somebody that knows, that can coach you on emotional intelligence. It may be a psychologist, if they are certified as a coach in emotional intelligence, yes. But find a coach, somebody that can help you in this area. If you cannot afford a coach, you can take a seminar or a workshop. It's much cheaper than hiring a coach. You take a seminar, do a workshop. For some of my corporate clients, I do 1-day seminar and 2 days. The 2 days, it's much more comprehensive. We cover all the 16 or the 15 attributes. So the 1 day is much more compressed. But you can also do that in the workshop so that you can get information on what you can begin to do to grow in this area. Once you do all of that, work with the coach or attend the workshop, create SMART goals. 2 or 3 SMART goals. We all know what SMART is, right? Do you? Hopefully we do. S is specific.
Reliable and time-based.
Very good. Thank you, Alexander. Specific, measurable, achievable, reliable, and time-bound. SMART. So make sure if you set goals that are not SMART, those are not goals. They are just wishful thinking. All right? Let our goals be SMART. And when you have created goals, work on them. I can't stress that enough. Work on goals. I've seen so many people create goals and we don't work on the goals. So work on the goals is in working on the goals that you actually get the returns. By the way, if you set a goal, when is the best time to start working on your goal?
To plan.
What? When?
Right now.
Right now. Thank you. Right now, right away. Please don't set goals and say, when I have more time, I will do it. When I have more money, I will do it. I've seen that many times. You will never have more time. All of us get the same 24 hours a day, right? Sometimes,
Look in New Year resolutions.
yeah. Sometimes I wish that I have like 26 hours a day, but I don't. Everybody gets 24 hours, all right? So don't say when you have more time, because you will not have more time. If you need to rearrange your schedule, find time in your schedule to do something, if you need time to accomplish a goal, rearrange your schedule right now, start right now, not tomorrow, start today, and start working on the goal. Because when you say when I have more time, it's a psychological way of pushing it backwards so that we don't have to deal with it right now. The same thing. Someone will say, if I have more money, I will pay for the assessment, I will attend a workshop or something like that. If you know something is important to you, you need funds, you need finances to do it now. Rearrange your finances, change something, cut back on the coffee or something, so that you find the funds to do that thing now. Because some of us say, if I have more money, I will do this. I have seen people. 5 years ago, they'll say, when I have more money, I will do this thing. Between that time, 5 years ago and today, they've gotten raises on the job, annual raises, salary raises, increments every year. Some of them have been promoted 1 or 2 times during that time. They have more money, yet they have not done that thing. So it's not about when I have more money or when I have more time. It's a way that we are unconsciously pushing those things behind us so that we don't have to deal with it now. But if you know something is important to you, if you know a goal is important to you, I say start working on it right away. Find the funds, find the time right away, and begin to work on it. Here's my information. If you'd like to get in touch with me, I would like to hear from you. So what questions do you have for me? Questions, comments? Yes?
Would you consider it a manipulation if you're using emotional intelligence skills in order to make your team members do what they most likely wouldn't do without you making them? Is it technically manipulation, or is it just being a smart leader?
I've heard that, thank you for the question. I've heard that question before.